Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fam Sports New York Varsity. I'm your host, Frank Langella, joined by my co-host, Marcelio Langella. And this is our Frank's Finest Class B show. And we're going to be recognizing the top players from the Class B teams. And we want to welcome our audience. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And we're excited to be back for our third overall season, our second season doing this, Frank's Finest. And we're excited to get into it. And I know if you're new to us, we both, we cover Section 1 football. We cover the Hudson Valley Football League. And we break down the players. We pick the games. We give full content coverage. So make sure you guys follow all our social media accounts. All our content is available on our website. And I know there were some inquiries about merchandise or donations. Those are also on our website. And we thank anybody and appreciate any donations that are made to the show. We try to make this the best product we can for the kids and for the schools, and we would appreciate any donations. But when we choose our Frank's Finest, I know people could tuning in for another year of this, wondering how we pick our players. We won't dive too deep into it because it is pretty extensive. But just to give overall what we look into the players, film room is big to us. We talk to coaches, we talk to scouts, and at the end of the day, it is our decision, and we believe these are the kids that should be recognized in these classes. So I know there'll be some disagreements, and that's fine, right? I love debate. I love talking ball, but this is our decision, and we're going to stick with it. So you ready to get into it, Morris?
Yeah, man, I'm ready to roll.
Let's do it. And we're going to start at the quarterback spot. It was not an easy decision, but I'm going to go with Michael Ballarge of Ardsley High School, the senior. This kid's 6 feet, 170 pounds, quick release. He's got some nice zip on his ball, and he showed some solid touch at each level this past spring, short, medium, and deep routes. This is a guy who really came onto the scene as the season went along, and Ardsley was relying heavily on him to make plays. And to me, he adds a mobility factor. Again, he can hurt you not just running the ball with his legs, but he also can maneuver the pocket, make pass rushers miss, and buy time. And he's looking down the field to make throws, in which I like when he does that. Mars, what are your thoughts on Michael?
Yeah, I feel like he is just a pure athlete. I feel like he can hurt you in so many different ways in both passing and also on the run. And I feel like he's just a big play machine. I feel like he can hit those intermediate routes, which is crucial in high school sports. But I mean, when you look at some of the games like against Pearl River, against Putt Valley, he really showed that he is just a pure weapon in all around play. And I
just
think
improved as the season went on. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I did a Frank's film room breakdown on Michael, and I'm going to let the audience see a little snippet of why I think he's a special player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 1 quarterback Michael Ballarge of Ardsley High School, located right here on the screen. And this young man at 6 feet, 170 pounds, not the biggest guy, but I tell you what, he has a nice quick release. He also shows he has some nice zip on his balls that he can deliver with velocity. And I thought he had some nice touch, at each level on short, intermediate, and deep throws. But another thing that I really like about this young man, he has good mobility. He can hurt you in design run plays, and he can maneuver the pocket with quick feet. And there were times in this past season that when he was trying to scramble, he kept his eyes downfield and made some really nice plays with his arm on some scramble drills, which I like. Now, I think definitely to work on, he can work on his body. I mentioned he's about 170 pounds. He can definitely build up some strength in his core and his lower half. I think that'll help on some of his throws. And just continue to be consistent on his reads, right, and making sound decisions, which you see a lot of from young quarterbacks. But let's go over a couple plays I really liked. I mentioned, they're going to be motioning into trips right here. You're going to see that this third receiver is going to go across the middle of the field to hold this safety over the middle. And then you're going to have a post on the outside and a wheel route from the number 2. And the quarterback's going to be focusing on this defender, okay, to see where he wants to go with the ball. This is pretty good spacing by this team. Again, they're going to the wide side of the field. You can see the safety staying over the middle. This guy's kind of caught in between. He's got his hips open. He's caught in between these two routes, and the quarterback sees that, and that's where he's going to attack. The corner's on the outside, covering the wheel. The throw is going to be over the top, okay, to this post. And watch him deliver with some nice velocity and touch. Okay, look at him drive his feet. Look at the ball get driven out there, and it's a really nice toss, right? Again, let's start from the top. Let's watch the drop back. Look at him set a nice base right there, and then he's going to deliver a strike. Boom. Right? That's pretty. And that's a touchdown. Looks easy. Right? But let's go to another play. I mentioned his legs. Right? This young man shows good mobility. They're going to roll out to the right. This number 2 receiver is going to run it out. They're going to run a fade on the outside. This play kind of gets busted a little bit. He rolls out to his right. You got to get a little trip on this inside route where he wanted to go. He probably could have went deep, but he decided not to go there. And now he's going to scramble to buy himself some time. Look at the defenders right all around him. Look at him break the tackle, and look at him keep his eyes downfield. All right, and he's going to deliver a nice strike right here. Boom. Mars, before I continue, I think I forgot to mention that all the Frank's film room breakdowns, the full videos are on YouTube. So you guys, make sure you guys go to YouTube if you want to see the full video. Yep. These are just snippets of them, and we will continue. Let's go to the skill guys, Mars. This is the running back, wide receivers, tight ends, etc. And this next guy, again, it was a tough decision at the quarterback spot because I had to put this guy in as an athlete because that's what he is. He's going to be playing quarterback this fall, but you could put him at running back, you could put him at wide receiver. This guy is just a weapon on offense, and that's Connor O'Neill of Bronxville High School, the senior. This kid's 6'3", 210 pounds. He may be one of the best athletes in Section 1. This is a sub-4, 640 guy. He's mobile. He can hurt you with his legs. He is strong, and he can also throw the ball. He has that arm strength. To me, the only thing you don't see is he doesn't have a lot of reps. He only played one game this past spring. But the talent is unquestioned, and he can hurt you at multiple spots. I mentioned a quarterback, running back, a wide receiver, and this guy has a lot of people are looking at this young man, and for good reason. It's the type of special athlete that he is. Let's go to another guy, running back, Mars. James Moran, the junior from Nanuet High School. This kid, 5'11", 170 pounds, an explosive runner. He hits the hole hard. He gets that second level quick. He's not a very big guy, but he showed he can run through contact. And he really had a strong second half of the season and really became one of the focal points of that offense. And another thing he can do, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. They moved him sometimes into the slot and ran routes out of the slot. I love those kind of weapons, Mars, and that's why he deserves to be on this list. Another guy, similar type of player, running back and wide receiver, Brandon Rispoli, the senior of Briarcliff Hamilton football program. He's back on this list. And again, this is not a big guy. This program moved into Class B this year. He's going to be a big weapon. I think he's one of the most electrifying players in the class. He has really great quickness and feet. He made defenders look foolish in the open field. And he's another guy who can hurt you in the slot, catching the ball, and hurt you out of the backfield as a receiver. This is a guy who can hurt you in both the run and pass game. He's a dangerous football player. Let's go to a wide receiver now, Mars. Connor Jones, a senior from Ardsley. This kid, 5'10", 160 pounds. He's a guy who can move. He can stretch the field. He can beat man coverage with his speed. And once he gets in and out of his breaks pretty smoothly. Now, you want to get this kid the ball in space. So they get him out in screen plays. They try to hit him on some deep routes. He really made a bunch of plays in this offense in the passing game. And he has the ability, which I like, again, which I think separates some receivers, is the ability to make contested catches, which is catching the ball when guys are draped on you, guys who are contacting you, and be able to come down with those 50-50 balls. He showed that he could do that. He's another impressive kid. And to round it out, Mars, before I pass it to you, another wide receiver, Jalen Savage, the senior from the Briarcliff Hamilton football program. This kid is a really good athlete. Good size, basketball kid who knows how to go up and get that football, win those contested catches. This kid is explosive. I think he has the tools to be one of the best receivers in this class. This is a talented kid to watch out for as, again, a team moving from the independent league into Class B. Mars, who do you want to talk about?
I'm really going to talk about Connor O'Neill from Bronxville. I think that when you look at this kid, he has the ability to do it all. Yes. Especially, he's just a weapon. I feel like we should just call him weapon. That's his position because he's just a weapon that you need in tight situations, and he's really going to cause a lot of havoc this year. I think that he has so much talent with him that it's going to be hard for any defense to kind of just take him out of the game. He's going to be involved in some way, and it's going to be.
And he's playing quarterback, but again, this is a guy who really could be moved to multiple spots.
Yeah, no, that's my point. Is that he can do anything. Like, let's just say, if they need him to play somewhere else, he'll do it. I mean, he can pass, he can run. He's just a pure athlete and pure playmaking machine, right? And I think that's something that he definitely have to give a lot of credit for. And I think that he is going to have a great season based off of everything we can see about him.
Yeah. Is there anybody else, or you?
No, I feel like when you look at all these other guys, I mean, something that I kind of can tell that's pretty similar to all of them is that they have this playmaking ability, right? Yes. And it's hard to really narrow down another key player. I mean, when I look at some of them, I feel like Jackson Savage is a guy that Jalen Savage. Yeah, Jalen Savage is someone that I like a lot. I mean, I really like all these guys. I mean, it's good football. I just feel like Connor O'Neill of all of them was kind of someone I prioritized because of his athletic ability and his ability to kind of make plays out of nothing. And I think that Jalen Savage is someone else that you can say is very similar in that aspect.
It was a really small program in the independent league. Not a lot of people watch. that, but we do. And this is a kid who really, again, was an impressive guy.
Yeah.
And I did do a tape on him. So I want the audience to see a nice little snippet of why I think Jalen is a talented football player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 3, wide receiver and defensive back, Jalen Savage of the Briarcliff Hamilton football program, located right here on the screen. And for this video, we're going to focus on the offensive side of the ball. And this is a really, really good athlete, multi-sport guy, plays basketball. And I think he's one of the more dynamic receivers coming back and could be one of the best in Section 1. And it's because he has a good mix of size and speed. Again, solid height to him, has that home run speed. If you get the ball in his hands, he can really hit that extra gear, get those extra chunk yardage, hit that home run. But he also is probably one of the best 50-50 contested catch guys that I watched on tape. He has some good concentration and good hands. Things he can work on. I think he can work on his route running. I think he can refine his route running, be a little more detail-oriented, and a little more consistent in blocking. I think he has the physical tools to be a good blocker. He has to show that consistency. But let's go over a couple plays. I know she's located right here on the screen. He's going to be running a slant. They're going to be going it to him. Tight end's going to be running an out. They're going to be in man coverage behind him. Quarterback's going to wait for this outside linebacker to clear, and they're going to throw it before that hook the curl linebacker can get there. That's what they're going to do, right? Again, it could be a little sharper on the slant, but there's the hole right there. The ball's thrown. He makes the catch. There's some space to him, and you're going to watch him work. Right? He's got that gear. He's got the strength. Look at the stiff arm right there, and then the speed to turn the corner. He's off to the races. This kid is a dynamic receiver. Right? You saw this often. Let's watch it again. Wait for that guy to clear. There's the hole right there. The ball's thrown. Makes a nice catch. In traffic. Stiff arm, and see you later. Big play. Let's go to another play. Here he is located right here. This time they bring corner closer to him, closer to the line of scrimmage. He's going to have safety help over the top, but you can't see the safety on the screen. They're going to run a fade. And you got to get your hands on him, because if he gets going, he can create some serious separation with that speed and that size. So they're doubling him. Right? Watch the concentration. Watch the hands. Gets to the outside. Boom. Look at this catch right here. Leaning back, hands over his head. That's a tough catch. It makes it look easy. And another big play. Let's move to the offensive line. And, again, it's hard to pick 5. I mean, there's a lot of good players. But let's start with offensive tackle Kevin Whaling, the senior from Hen Hud. This is another big-bodied kid, strong. And he was part of a dominant rush attack from the Hen Hud offense in the spring. We had multiple rushers who had a bunch of 100-yard gains. And a big part of it is this offensive line. And he is one of the few bodies coming back. But he was a strong anchor for them. And he can move people out of the point of attack. I think he's obviously best at doing down blocks and some of those drive blocks. And it's going to be big in that wing T offense. I think he's going to be a big part of it. And he's going to be one of those offensive linemen that we chose for Frank's Finest. Another guy, Justin Bomer, of senior from Ardsley High School. He was kind of not spoken too much about on that Ardsley team, but is another powerful blocker, down blocker. He can move bodies. He's got those powerful hands. And I thought he was a pretty good finisher. Again, he's not talked about much, but when we talked to Coach about him, they love the work he put in this offseason. They think he's an underrated player, and I think he is when you watch that Ardsley team. He's somebody who, under the radar, proved to be a pretty darn good player for them. And he's one of the Frank's Finest on the offensive side of the ball. Another offensive tackle marks, Preston Mays, the senior from Bronxville. This kid's 6'3", 225 pounds, a very athletic offensive lineman. He moves very well. He has really solid feet, strong hands that help him control defenders. Not so much of a power blocker, but really like a finesse blocker, really controls guys well. And I think he's one of actually the better pass pro guys I watched on tape. And in the run-heavy leagues, that says a lot. I think he did a pretty darn good job in pass pro shadowing defenders. Another lineman, Zach Luckman, the junior from Byram Hills High School. This kid's 6'2", 230 pounds, good length, showed nice strength. He played with an edge to him, which I always like linemen to do. And another thing I always love, that word, Mars, versatility. He played right tackle, he played center. He has the mobility to do both. He will take a big step forward this year. And when you talk to Coach about him, he's another guy, they really love the offseason work that he put in, and he can have a big jump this year. And finally, to wrap it all off, Mars, George Costas of Ardsley High School, another Ardsley offensive lineman. This kid, 5'10", 250 pounds, stocky, thick guard. Boy, is he a powerful run blocker. He has deceptive foot speed that he could show he can pull. He can pull for trap and some sweeps. And when he has his hands locked in, he's another guy who can move that sled. And this guy was one of those anchors on the internal offensive line that can help them run the ball consistently. I think he's going to be another big, important piece. Mars, which lineman do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about two guys. I feel like I'm going to first talk about Zach Luckman. I think he's from Byram Hills.
Yes.
I think that he's on this list because of the fact he's very versatile, as you mentioned, right? The fact that he can do multiple things. He has the mobility to basically, play in multiple positions, which is great, being able to play right tackle and at center. But he's going to be, showing his ability of why he's considered Frank's finest this season. I think coming into his junior year, this is kind of this chance to really show everyone in not even just Class B, but in Section 1 of what this kid can do, right? But you cannot talk about the top offensive line without talking about George Costas,
yes.
right? He is the dude, right?
Yeah.
He is one of the most powerful offensive linemen in Section 1, definitely in Class B, and I think that he has this deceptive power to him, right?
Yeah.
He has the ability to trap block, especially when it comes to sweeps, right? And he is a load, right? He is someone that if he gets his hands on you, and as you mentioned, he has this finishing power to him.
Yeah, and because he's 5'10", he's not that tall, right? So he gets under your shoulder pads and he pancakes people.
Yes, exactly. And I think that the fact that he has that power, like that shock value to him, is what gets people, all those defenders really, they can't really do much against them.
Yeah, and I did a Frank's film room breakdown on him, and we're going to let the audience see a little snippet of why I think George is a talented player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 51 and 71 guard and defensive tackle George Costas of Ardsley High School, located right here on the screen. And this young man's not very tall, about 5'10", 5'11", but he is thick, 250 pounds, stocky guy. He's like a cannonball. He's a powerful run blocker. And I think he's got some deceptive foot speed. And he showed he's nimble enough that he can pull for some traps. And he even showed on occasion that he could pull for some sweeps, which was nice to see. And this young man plays with solid leverage. Again, he's not a very tall guy, but once he gets his hands locked in, he really can move bodies. And he can deliver some power, especially in the run game. And I thought he was an impressive guard that I saw on tape. Now, things he can work on, because you're a bit undersized, at least height-wise, you have to be really good in technique consistently to be a dominant guard. And that's something I think he can work on, being more consistent. But he was an impressive guy I watched. And let's go over a couple plays. I mentioned at the right guard spot, you're going to see some of the power in the sled work. Again, they're going to double this defensive tackle up to the linebacker, and you're going to see him push defenders out of the way. Right? He's got to push first-level defenders. And you see, once he gets his hands locked in, he can do that. Again, look at that right there. Again, he shows a lot of strength once he gets his hands locked in. From the top. Again, solid double initial. They get off on the back. The defense does a good job blowing this play up, but this is a really good job by the guard. Let's go to another play. Again, I mentioned his ability to trap. Right? When he gets contact with you, he can deliver a punch. But let's see the footwork on this trap. Right? Gets out of this quickly. Traps the end man on the line of scrimmage. There he is right there. Focus in on him. And again, another pancake. Right? Deceptive foot speed. He can make these trap plays. Get out of his stance quickly, under control, and delivers a nice power shot. Let's watch him one more time. And he gets out of his stance quickly, not heavy-footed right there, under control, and delivers a nice shot right there. All right, Mars, let's go to the defense, man. I think this is going to be a bit of a surprise for everybody, but I think this has an opportunity to make some big plays this year, and I'm going to go defensive tackle George Galage, and I probably butchered his name, and I apologize if I did, but the junior from Byram Hills. This kid's 6'4", 230 pounds, Mars. And he is strong. He has a high motor. And I saw him rotate. Again, Byram Hills was a senior-heavy team. And having to come in and rotate on some games against Pleasantville, Westlake, he's going to be given a larger role this year. And I think he's going to really pop off. He has a really good length. He has those long arms. And that feistiness to go after ball carriers. Again, you got to love the size at 6'4", 230. And when he was in, he made plays. And I think, given a bigger role, I think he can make even more plays and be a big impact player on this defense. Another defensive lineman, Jack Responti, the senior from Pearl River. The other guy says about, rotating. I was talking about rotating in, coming in and making plays when he gets in. This guy, he's been on the varsity, I think, about 4 years now. This guy is a multi-year varsity player, versatile, played at defensive tackle, defensive end. He was there, one of their most consistent presence on this team, not just defense, but on this team. And I think he does a really good job getting penetration as a solid start. He's not a very big guy, but he uses his hands well. And this is another guy who deserves that recognition. Another defensive lineman, Mars, defensive end Christian Dash of Ardsley High School, 6'1", 230 pounds, really strong hands, which help him control blockers. And I thought he was really pretty well-rounded in the run game. He's got that strong lower body, which helps him anchor down, but he shows some deceptive mobility. I don't think he's the fastest guy, but he made some plays out on the edge. And this was a guy I thought who really matured as a player in this past spring and really became a high-impact player. And finally, to round it all off, defensive tackle Spencer McCormick of Bronxville, the senior. This kid is a feisty player. He's not a very big guy, but he plays with a high motor, really solid job using his hands to disengage blockers, and a solid start to penetrate into the backfield. This is a gritty player. And again, not the biggest guy, but he's going to win with effort. He's going to win with leverage, and he's going to win with his hands. And I like that about him. Mars, which defensive lineman you want to talk about?
Well, I'm going to talk about first Christian Dash, the senior from Ardsley, defensive end. I think that he's very well-rounded. I like the way he plays in the run, and he does a very good job at creating that contain that you would need on any sort of defense that you're going to run. But I'm mainly going to focus on Spencer McCormick. I really like the way this guy plays. He really knows how to cause mayhem in the backfield. I think that he has this ability to disengage your blockers, and he shows his grittiness to them, that it shows that he's never just going to give in, right? He's going to keep fighting, and someone that you have that on the interior line is really important to establish any sort of defensive presence, right? And I think that he does that in spades. Yeah,
and he's not a very big guy, right? So he's got to penetrate, he's got to win with his speed and with his hands, and he did a pretty good job of that. And I actually did a video on Spencer, and I'm going to let the audience see a little snippet of why I think Spencer is a talented player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 50 defensive tackle and guard Spencer McCormick of Bronxville High School, located right here on the screen. And although this guy's not a very big guy, but he is a feisty player. I mean, this guy will bite you if it was legal. And, I really love the way he plays. He plays with a really high motor. And I think he does a really good job using his hands to disengage blockers, and I don't think enough linemen do that. And I think he's at his best when he tries to penetrate gaps using his speed, using his hands. But against single blocking, I thought he held his own. I thought he showed some strength that he won't get moved off his spot too easily. Things to work on, and I talked about it some of the occasions that he definitely held his own on single blocks or down blocks. Strength is definitely he can work on more, right? Especially in his lower half, there's definitely room to improve there. How will he handle bigger linemen, double teams? But let's go over a couple plays I like. I mentioned he's located right here on the screen. And we're going to see his ability to disengage blockers, okay? This is a downhill running play. You're going to see one of the big linemen trying to block him one-on-one, and he does a good job using his hands. So let's show it. Again, this is pretty good leverage right here, pretty wide base, and that's what gives him that power that he can disengage the block and make the tackle right there. Okay, when he goes a little bit high, that's when I see a little bit of struggle, but this is pretty good right here. Good leverage, wide base. Look at him use his hands, and he's going to make that tackle. I'm going to show that one more time. And there he is right there. Again, that's a good job. Let's go to another play. Here he is right here. Okay, they're going to be running away from him. Okay, and you can see the center is going to get a down block on him. Right, this is a pretty good angle to get a down block on him. Run away. He's going to see it, and he's going to react. Right, use his hands to get off a blocker. Let's watch him. He sees it. Look at him use his hands to get off, and he's going to run down the field to help on this play. Right, I love the effort. And he plays with a high motor. Initially good contact, but look at him fight off that block and now run down the line of scrimmage, right? That's important. Run down the line of scrimmage and help make that play. All right, so let's go to the linebackers. I'm going to start outside linebacker Cole Pritchard of Hen Hud, the senior. This kid is a super active player. He's not a tall or big guy, but he's practically always around the ball, and he has solid speed. You can send him off the edge on stunts. Showed the athleticism that he could drop into coverage. He was a leading tackler returning for this Hen Hud defense. And this is a guy, again, I love the energy that he plays with, and he was deserving to be on this list. Another guy, another linebacker, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, Ryan Miller, the senior from Pleasantville, Mars. This kid, 5'11", 180 pounds. He played outside linebacker in the spring. They're moving him to inside linebacker. I thought Pleasantville was one of the most consistent defenders in the spring. tough at the point of attack. He flowed pretty well. Again, he's going to have to get a lot of reps to move from the inside because that's where different reads. But I thought when they were sending him on inside stunts as an inside linebacker, I thought he penetrated pretty good. He showed good timing. So again, it's getting those reps in. I think he can make that transition. He's at his best when he's attacking the line of scrimmage. He also showed solid range. Another linebacker, Mars, one of my favorite linebackers, and that's inside linebacker and outside linebacker Ryan Watson of Ardsley High School, the senior. This kid, good size, 6'2", 210 pounds. To me, he's a 3-down linebacker. He can move him around. He can move him inside. He can move him outside. He's athletic, got solid range, good size. He shows the strength that he can defend against the run inside, and also the range that he can make plays on the outside. I mean, to me, what separates him is that, again, that ability to drop into coverage. And when we talk to Coach about him, this is a 3-year varsity player. He's been a captain for 3 years, Mars. A captain. That means he's been a captain as a young football player all the way up to his senior year. That says a lot about the leadership of this young man. And finally, to wrap it all up, outside linebacker Chris Kelty, another really good player of the senior from Bronxville. 6'4", 210 pounds, good size and length. This kid is a smooth athlete. Again, I mentioned that size. He's hard to run around. He's hard to have wide receivers and running backs block him because of that size and length. And when you get someone of his size who can drop into coverage and play man-to-man, that's a pretty special athlete. Again, 6'4", we're talking about, 210 pounds. Really talented player. Mars, what linebacker do you want to talk about?
Well, I'm going to first talk about Ryan Miller. I mean, from a outside linebacker, inside linebacker from Pleasantville. I mean, you kind of mentioned the fact that he's very versatile, right? He can do multiple things, and that's already been the case where you see he starts out as an outside linebacker and is now being transitioned to an inside linebacker. And I think probably one of the most important things about him is that he's consistent, right? He's been consistently a force on the defense, and he's only going to get better as he ages and gets more experience on the field. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does this year.
Pretty reliable tackler, too.
Yeah, exactly. And then lastly, I'll talk about Chris Kelty, and from Bronxville. And as you mentioned, being the size that he is, at 6'4", 210 pounds, he shows so much versatility and athleticism for his size, right? Being able to drop into coverage, play man-to-man and outside linebacker, and be really somewhat a force on the rush defense, and I think that's something that is really hard to come by in this league. You get smaller teams, so it's really rare you find someone that's this much of a force on the field.
Now again, I'm curious if he could play man to man against speedy wide receivers down the field, but in the short range, running backs and tight ends, he did a pretty darn good job, which was really impressive. And I actually did a breakdown on Chris Kelty of Bronxville, and I'll let the audience see a little snippet of why I think he's a talented player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 18 outside linebacker and tight end Chris Kelty of Bronxville High School, located right here on the screen. And this young man has good size and length, about 6'4", 210 pounds. And he's also a smooth athlete. And, not a lot of people talk about this young man, but he made some big-time plays for them this past spring. He was a bit of a ball hawk. And he was difficult to run outside as well in the running game because of that length. And running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends had a tough time blocking him. But the reason why I'm so high in him is by also, with his size and his length, he can also drop into coverage. I think he can drop into zone. He did that pretty well. He also can play some man-to-man. And, I mentioned he was kind of a ball hawk. He made a bunch of interceptions. And, this kid has some serious potential. Now, things he can work on, to me, he's got to put on some more muscle. He's got a good frame, but he's a little thin, and he can especially get stronger in his lower half. And it could probably make him better against power running teams. But let's go over a couple plays. I mean, she's located right here. And we're going to talk about him in pass coverage. Right, offense going to try to do a quick bubble. They want to get this number 3 receiver, block him one-on-one. They like the 3-on-2 advantage. And you're just going to see, again, he has the length, but he also has some quickness and some athleticism to him that it's difficult to block him in open space. And you're going to see that right here. Look at him. He just blows right by him. And he tackled pretty well in open field. That's another thing I didn't just mention before, but he was a pretty good open field tackler for this team. And again, he reads it. He shows good awareness. He sees it. He's going to blow right by. He's going to make this tackle. Let's go to another play. Here he is again. Out in space. They're going to run trips to his side. They have 2 wideouts plus the tight end. They got a post on the outside, a deep out, and a short out. Okay, and they want to get this guy who's in, covering the flats, caught in between. Who's he going to cover? Okay, he goes to jam this inside receiver. Doesn't get a great jam on him, but forces him to do an outside release. And the quarterback feels some pressure. He's not expecting him to take the tight end, but he reads the quarterback. Right, he gets the jam. Look at him, his eyes on the quarterback. Again, a zone, multiple guys in his zone. He chooses the right one. He makes a nice pick on this play, and he's off to the races. Right, big return, which ends up becoming a touchdown. All right, Mars, let's go to the defensive backs. And I'll start off cornerback and safety, Daniel Picard, the sophomore from Pleasantville. And again, it's hard to get on here as a sophomore underclassman. And the reason why I have him is this kid is slightly over 6 feet tall, and he may be Pleasantville's top athlete. And to say that after his freshman campaign says a lot about this young man. He is fast, he has smooth hips, and he's shown decent ball skills. And he was a really reliable player for them. And I think he has the tools to be a tremendous man-to-man guy. I mean, he also has that range that if you move him to safety, I think he still will be good. I mean, he was at corner last in spring. If they move him to safety, he's got the range and the speed that I think he could be successful. Obviously, you have different rules and different objectives, but I think he has that athleticism that he can be successful at both. Another guy, sticking with Pleasantville, Kieran Cotter. He was that free safety in the spring, strong safety now. This kid, 5'9", 175 pounds. This is a physical guy. He is pretty much an added linebacker in the run game. Really solid tackler. He's a box safety where he can play in zone coverage and be near the line of scrimmage to play the run. But he also showed the versatility. I think he's more suited for that box safety role. But he showed the versatility that he played free safety in the spring. And so if the team needs him, he can do that move. And I always love players who can do that if they need him to do that. And finally, to wrap it all off, I'm going back to corner, and that's Michael Rocco, the senior from Byram Hills. He's one of the few guys from the spring team that is coming back and saw significant reps, and he impressed me with his solid speed and physical play. He was a really solid tackler in the open field, and this is a kid, another fluid kid who I saw make, he has good awareness and communication. That he had good reps in both zone and man, and I think he can really build off that spring performance. Mars, what defensive back do you want to talk about?
I'm going to stick with the Pleasantville boys. I mean, I'll first talk about Daniel Picard. I think that this kid has a lot of talent to him. I mean, he started as a freshman, and now he's grown into a completely different man, right? A growth spurt hit this kid, and I think that he has this versatility that he can play in multiple spots, and he's, like you said, he's turned into like a ball hawk. I think he has this ability to make plays on whether it's the defense or even on the offensive side of the ball, and I think he has a lot of upside to him. He has a lot of playability, a lot of potential, and I think he's only going to grow from here. And then you have Kieran Cotter, who's now a senior, right? A senior captain on Pleasantville. And I think, as you mentioned, he is one of his best traits is being near the run, being near the ball and being a very good run defender. And I think that if he can only get better, right, that's great for him. Because he's already versatile, right? He can be he was a free safety last year. He was playing a strong safety, kind of a more box safety now. If he can kind of do a mix of both, that's already a great thing to see.
Absolutely. But going back to Michael Rocco, Byram Hills, I did a Frank's film room breakdown on him, and I want to let the audience to get a little snippet of Michael and why I think he's a talented player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 2 cornerback and running back Michael Rocco of Byram Hills High School, located right here on the screen. And this young man, he's not the tallest guy, but I tell you, he's got solid speed, and he plays physical for his size. I think he's a pretty darn good tackler in open field from the reps that I watched. And what I like the most about him is he breaks well out of his stance. He breaks well to the ball. And I think he shows really solid awareness. I saw some really good reps in both man and zone coverage. He moves pretty fluidly. Now, the things, to work on, and it's difficult on the volume of reps that we saw because, he was on a senior-heavy team, didn't play a whole lot, but did come on as the season went on, and especially towards the end of the season, he made some plays for this team. And let's go over a couple of them. He's located right here. And again, he's not the biggest guy, but he shows that he could be physical. And they're going to try to do a little bubble screen right here, have this receiver block him. He reads it well. He breaks to the ball quickly, and he shows that he could be a solid tackler. So let's watch it again. He shows good awareness. He reads the play quickly. And look at this hit right there. That's a nice, solid tackle in open field. And it all starts with the recognition of the play, breaking quickly, and then wrapping up. Again, watching him. Reads it right away, right? Not back when he sees it, and he goes and attacks it. Let's go to another play. This is one of my favorite plays that I saw from him. Shows that awareness, right? So here he is. He's going to be man-to-man with this guy on the outside. They're actually going to try to run a slant to get him out of this area so they can do a screen with the running back. And he reads this. Now, again, he's man-to-man with this guy. He rides him good, but then he notices the screen, and he comes off it. Here he is again. Right, gets into the receiver's body, sees the screen right here, right? So he sees it. He's going to come off. He got linemen trying to come at him, and he does a really good job of avoiding the blockers right here, and again, tackling an open field. Again, this was a really nice play. One more time. Again, he's man-to-man. Gets into the receiver initially. He sees the screen. He's going to come off and make a really nice play in open field. That's good stuff right there. All right, March, to wrap it all up, we're going to go to the kicker. And again, not an easy decision, right? But this time around, wasn't as many kickers returning from the spring. And so I think John McCarthy of Pleasantville, the senior, is going to get the nod at the kicker spot. There is a kicker in Nanuet come from the soccer team over to the varsity team. I'm hearing people are saying got to keep an eye on him, but I got to go with someone that has shown it on the field consistently, and I'm going to go with John McCarthy. And this is a kid who I think has the potential to go to college to kick. Again, another consistent kicker and another reliable weapon for the Pleasantville football team in the kicking game, and he's going to be an important aspect of that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. John definitely has a lot of talent when kicking the ball, and I think that he's kind of showing that in spades, and I'm looking forward to see what he can really do on the field this year.
Absolutely, and that's going to do it, and I appreciate everyone for tuning into the show. Congratulations to the young men who were selected for Frank's Finest this off-season, and we're excited to see these young boys play. All right, everyone, thank you, and enjoy your night, and we'll see you all very soon.